Hi, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Philosophy Insights. Heather MacDonald is one of the sharpest critics of what she calls our new diversity orthodoxy, a lawyer turned writer best known for her book, The Diversity Myth. She identifies diversity as a set of political demands that can trump standards, merit, and even basic honesty. Once that logic takes over, institutions stop asking what's true and start obsessing over who is represented.
To me, every time somebody starts talking about diversity, it's code for something else. Interestingly, the first diversity officer that Apple hired got herself fired by saying at a conference in Bogota, Colombia, that you could have 24 white males in a room and they would be diverse because individuals are diverse. This was so heretical within the diversity ideology that says that the only diversity that counts is race and gender and that we should typecast everybody, that she was fired for saying that. And she, of course, groveled and apologized and said, I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that what I said is representative of Apple's views, nor are they of mine. This is pathetic. She was right the first time around. You get 24 human beings together, and whatever their color and race, they're going to be different.
That same principle can be applied to 24 Asian women or to 24 black men or whatever. They're different. Their minds
I'm not
are
going to
different.
stereotype somebody. I know liberal whites and conservative blacks. I know conservative whites and liberal blacks. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions about somebody based on their skin color, his skin color. It's an incredibly narrowing way of views things. So, I would say, excuse me?
That it hurts our foundation of truth when we start identity politicsing everything.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as far as their ability to find truth about human nature going forward, we have now in science, social science, this big replicability crisis that is in part due to the fact, something that Jonathan Haidt has written about, and again, I respect him and he's done very powerfully, the overwhelming ideological monolith in the social sciences that he's concerned that it produces only one way of seeing the world. Now, I don't want quotas for hiring conservatives in academics. I think that would be a disaster. I think any quota system is inevitably stigmatizing of the alleged beneficiaries. But nevertheless, the prioritization of race and gender going forward is going to lead, generally, it too is sort of a surrogate and hand in hand with political bias, and I think we should just junk all of that.
Diversity talk fundamentally rewrites the whole story of inequality. Gaps in outcomes become automatic proof of injustice, and standards start to look like weapons. Once an institution locks onto that script, there's only one acceptable explanation for any disparity, and that is discrimination.
We're talking about the diversity delusion in the United States, which is so interesting because when you extend this conversation to what is this like in China, right? Are they even thinking?
They think we're crazy. Yeah. I talked with Asian physicists at Harvard when I was there doing a debate on affirmative action and giving a talk, and they just, the Asian scientists and students who are here, they cannot believe what we're wasting our time on. China is ruthlessly meritocratic. The Asian countries all are. They couldn't care less. They are, whoever's the best, and to a certain extent, of course, nationalistic. But the best thing that Trump could do to level the playing field with China is to airlift a few cargo planes of gender feminists from American universities and dump them on Beijing University and its research labs. Because as long as they remain uninfected by this identity poison, they will pull out ahead. They care only about one thing. Are you the best person to unlock the secrets of the human genome? And they're going ahead in a perhaps unethical way with their genetic splicing and whatnot. And so they have some problems with the integrity, possibly, of their research, but they are still seeking the smartest genetic engineers they can get.
I'm happy you're talking about it again, just that you got to be at the cutting edge of knowledge, the cutting edge of science, the cutting edge of technology, and not caring so much about race and gender, but rather how well do you know the genome? How well do you know how to program artificial intelligence? How well do you know how to program blockchain protocols? How well do you know these things?
Right.
Because this is how well do you know how the brain works? Because those are the people that, no matter what their race and gender is, they're at the cutting edge of knowledge, and we're not going, oh, they're black or they're white or they're purple. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
They're at the cutting edge of knowledge, and we need to push the boundaries of the cutting edge of knowledge and help children get to those cutting edges of knowledge regardless of their race and gender. Just help them get to those edges wherever they care about going. I'm glad we ran that experiment of what it's like in other places in the world. What is it like for their diversity conversations in other places in the world? Why are we so obsessed with a diversity conversation here where there's so much more based on meritocracy everywhere else? Okay, Heather, before we get to those last questions, is there another pressing point that you think we should cover in the conversation?
No, I guess I would just say that universities should be places where students encounter beauty and greatness, where the faculty teach them why they should be down on their knees in gratitude before works of sublime insight and imagination that take us out of our petty, narrow selves into worlds that we would otherwise never experience, whether it's life on a 19th century Russian feudal estate or into the imaginary groves of pastoral poetry or experiencing the languor of a Chopin nocturne. These are all things that enrich us and, again, take us out of the present. Education should be about the transmission of an inheritance from one generation to the next. And all too often now it's about the transmission of ungrounded, unjustified anger, resentment, and self-pity.
How can we pass along the best collective learning principles to the next generation over and over again? Because that's how to prosper most effectively.
Well, we do it by throwing aside anger, resentment, grievance, and opening ourselves to beauty.
Yeah. Because it's a miracle that we're here on Earth. Mm-hmm. It's a miracle that we have all this ubiquity around us. So, yeah. Okay, the couple questions on the way out we like to ask our guests. What would you say is a core driving principle of yours?
Well, meritocracy and a belief in the humanistic tradition, a sorrow and a rage that humanistic learning is being destroyed, a feeling that it's on us to keep these great books alive. If we stop reading them, they die. So just a sense of urgency about keeping the inheritance of civilization vital and available to everybody who has the privilege to absorb it. And also, I guess, a contempt for idiocy. I don't like, I just, explanations of reality that are clearly counterfactual, I have no patience for.
Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this exploration, please like, share, and subscribe for more thoughtful discussions.